Hello, everyone. It is I, Antonio Pomares, and welcome to another episode of the Hungry Bleak Show. So, hope y'all are doing well. How was your week? Did you take care of that thing? Okay, so how was the family? Loved ones? Everything's. Sometimes that happens. Don't worry about it. It'll blow over. Just remember to keep the lines of communication open, and you'll be fine. How was work? Well, sometimes they be doing those things. I know. It's been a while. I know. But I've had so many incredible people coming on and guests just coming through that we're just going to enjoy the time that we've got with these people because they're all awesome. But we'll get time to sit down, we'll talk, we'll chill, we'll talk some comments, we'll talk comments, we'll talk crispy pancakes, do it all, okay? All right. So here's the thing. As a kid, I never liked coloring outside the lines. I would color inside. Whatever picture it was in like the coloring book, I would color inside. Did that for years. In my late 30s, early 40s, mid 40s now, where's time gone? I realized that coloring outside the lines can be just as beautiful as coloring inside the lines. And y'all know every so often I like to have someone that's a little bit outside of what I normally do, which is geek culture, comics, that type of stuff. I like to have people on who are people that I'm listening to, people that interest me, that really spark my brain. Because we have a lot of talking heads in these spaces, but not a lot of voices. That's the thing. And you all know what I usually say. A lot of hot takes, but they're actually lukewarm like IQs. And we have too many of those. So when I hear a voice that's actually speaking to me, I have to. Now, this woman, also from Jersey, big up, is someone who came across in a group on Facebook, a blurred group. I don't even know what the hell the name of the group was. But it's just so interesting to see her platform, being a podcaster and just talking about life and relationships and dating and everything that's going on. And I would be at work and I'd be listening to her podcast. It was just so interesting to me. And she has gone through so much and so many of life's things, whether it was through relationship-wise or just life and the things that hit us and come up against us, and that we have to push through. And she's chronicled them in these shows, which is awesome. She's been the Brown Girl Experience. I'm sorry, I don't know what. Every time I think about that little character, that's all I hear. Cocktails and Conversations is her latest iteration. She's doing live shows, which I love. I think that's such a great idea. So, folks, without any further ado, excuse me, this is Erica D. Butler, aka the Brown Girl. Hello.
Hi. I was backstage listening to you introduce me. I was like, who is he talking about?
I would have given more, but I didn't want to give everything. But it definitely is true that I do. I still hear the Brown Girl Experience. I hear that all the time in my head, and I'm like, I'm 46. I'm trying to grocery shop, and this is in the back of my head. Horrible. How are you doing this day?
I am doing good. Today is a good day.
Okay, good, cool. Thank you for being here. Me, I am. You know what? I'm gonna say today is a good day.
Okay.
Went to work. I was able to come home. My mother's feeling good today. I ate. I have clothes on my back. Getting paid this week.
Hey.
I'm gonna chalk it all up to I'm good.
Okay. I'll take it.
You have done so much, and it's been so cool to see you flow through these different iterations of doing the show. But I want to know, how did you get started in these spaces like podcasts, everything? Like, what made you decide I'm going to sit behind this mic and really do this?
So podcasting for me was a bet. And so it was a bet. So I am a creative kid with ADHD. And I always had something to say on Beyonce's internet. Every time people turned around, it was yang, 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 yang. I always had something. And the person who bet me was my mom. She's like, they have these things where they pre-record these shows and, she's like, they're called podcasts. And I was like, what do you know about a podcast? And she was like, I know things. And I'm like, but do you? It went from "But do you" to I went and bought a microphone, the cheapest microphone I could find, and started recording on a laptop. And then eventually I started going into a studio, and it grew. I was always surprised that people were interested in not just what I had to say, but interested in the topic and the fact that they could be part of the conversation. So it started off as a bet, and I won.
That's, I mean, yeah, that's okay. That's the first time I've heard anyone say, anybody I've heard, and I've asked them, oh, how did you get started in XYZ? I've never heard it be a bet, and a bet from your mother. Wow.
Yeah, she probably wanted me to get out of her face for something.
That might have been it too.
Mm-hmm.
You know, parents have a way of like of that Jedi mind trick. Like, you know, I don't think you can do it, and then you do it, and they're like, "Oof, out my face." Now I can sit back and read
Exactly.
or watch the stories,
Mm-hmm.
whatever it's. Wow, okay. I know that's very interesting to me. That's very interesting to me. What has been the most when you were doing podcasts more regularly?
Mm-hmm.
What was the thing that you really found empowered you doing that?
So when I first started out, I had a co-host
Mm-hmm.
from podcasting, and I think co-hosts are great, but I don't think people should co-host if they're dating. No, 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 no. But when I branched out and started doing my own thing, when I branched out, I introduced the world to the Brown Girl experience. And what it ended up turning out to be is I started giving voice to Black women, and not like the famous, not the stars. We didn't talk pop culture. We talked about our experiences. We talked about our stories. And I realized that I started creating community of giving Black women safe healing spaces where they can share their most vulnerable sides of themselves, their most authentic selves, without having to mask up, without having to code switch, without having to censor themselves, their language, their stories. And there was no shame in it. And when I started realizing that the community I was building, it was dope. It was dope. And that's when I'm like, yo, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And just like, hearing women, and I'm 46 too. Well, I'll be 46. Hearing women in their mid 40s who never really came out and just talked about what they went through. We just experience life, we experience things, we push through, we make it through, we just go to the next thing. And our biggest claim to fame is we make it do what it do. But do we? And I create a space for them to say, no, I'm not okay, or no, this is not good, or no, I just want to scream sometimes, or I hate it here. So that for me was the most empowering part of doing a podcast, creating a platform.
That is beautiful, first off. And that was a space that was needed. And I love that you said it wasn't like about, celebrities or gossiping or whatever, anything like that about, whatever, who's dating who, whatever's going on. It was really about, you know, every woman, Black woman there, just trying to sit down. And the minute the butt hits the couch, you got to get up because you got to go get this. You got to go do that. You got to figure out this. You got to do that. You got to think about what you got to do 3 days from now.
Yes.
So you saying the moments of never being able to stop, it's always a continuation. It's never a stop, an actual stop. It's more like it's more like a rolling stop.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of, okay, I'm just going to go ahead and do this. That's extremely important. Yes. And being raised by Black women and it's seeing that every day and dating Black women. I'm seeing that where it's been like, and I'm like, just sit. And they're like, okay. And then they go, oh, but I got to go. And I'm like, and it drives me nuts to a certain extent because I want you to sit down, but I know that you feel like you have to do that, what have you. So having that space of being able to say no, which is a very important word, no. It's okay to not.
Exactly. And we don't know how. We don't know how to sit down. We don't know how to not carry the weight of the world. And we don't know how to say the no and mean the no without the guilt behind it because we were never taught. Our mothers, our grandmothers, our great grandmothers, our aunties, our TTs, whatever you want to call them, we watched the women before us just keep moving, keep making things work, but never exploring themselves. They carry the narrative of the world that the world gives us, and they never get a chance to explore themselves, name themselves. which came from a series that I watched where they episode 7, and I can't remember the name of the movie now. Lovecraft Country, episode 7, where it was like name yourself, and I thought that was the most powerful statement ever, and I literally incorporated that in my platform from that episode forward. Name yourself.
That's I think that was the one where
Hepatitis.
she went into the future.
Mm-hmm.
That episode was one of the most powerful episodes possible because Anjanou Ellis, first off, is just divine. She is deity put on earth.
Oh.
From Undercover Brother to Lovecraft Country, to everything, and it was also the fact that it was an older Black woman being just standing there nude, not being what Hollywood would normally want to tell you, or the mainstream would normally want to tell you. This was an older Black woman who had a body as beautiful as she is and everything, but Hollywood would go, no, that's not what we're looking for. That episode was her just being her and stepping into that's all right. Now I got to go rewatch this show. Okay.
Yeah, you can skip. I mean, it was the series was like top notch to me. Top notch storytelling, top notch writing. The way they just took everything and they put it in Black. I'm like, oh.
That episode. I think about the episode constantly because it was her episode, and it was her naming herself, and it was her stepping into herself and really being there. And it wasn't about any of the men in the show. It was about her. I think that's actually very beautiful, and I truly appreciate that even more of what you are doing and what you've done, which has been a lot. Like I said, I actually wanted to ask you a question about that since you brought up co-hosting with a person that you're dating. When you would do shows and you would talk about dating and everything, and if you were dating someone, would you tell the person, oh, I'm going to be on the show and I'm going to talk about this or what have you, and what we're going through? Would you not that you needed to, but also, but would you talk about that with them and say, oh, I might be doing this on the show this week, or what have you?
If I'm currently dating you, if we're currently dating, currently talking, currently getting to know each other, I share no information about you. I only share my past dating experiences because, like, I'm very transparent, and I'm very transparent, and not to a fault. I'm intentional about the transparency that I use, but I'm also very private, and the things that I hold the most private are the people that I care about the most. So one of the things, like even with my platform, occasionally you'll see glimpses of pictures of me and my friends doing things, or me and my family. But for the most part, I keep those things that I care the most about close to me, and they're not for the internet. The internet's not privy to that information. Y'all don't know me like that. So my past dating, like past experiences, I share those stories. And once you're my past, you become part of the story. I don't run it back to get permission. I'm just like, no. If you wanted a better story being told, like Cat Williams said, you should have did better. So
okay.
Yeah.
That's always something that I'd wondered. Yeah. Okay.
Yep, the world will never know unless they catch me out in public, which I have been caught out in public, especially in my single season, where single season you date multiple people. And I've been caught out in public a couple of times, and women have slid in my DMs. They're like, "Brown girl, now I seen you out in Philly, but then I also seen you out here in Cherry Hill. That's what I did." And I was like, "Oh, girl, I'm dating. I'm interviewing for the role of somebody to share experiences for the rest of my life with. So of course you're gonna see me out here, but just don't call me out here, girl. Just don't call me out there. That's all."
Yeah, I made a mistake. I'm not even gonna talk about it. I'm not even gonna say anything. So
I feel like we should talk about it. I feel like we're here.
Absolutely. I have a staunch rule about not dating. Well, for the longest time, I wouldn't date in geek spaces because I'm in there. I want to enjoy the situations that I'm in, the events, what have you. Okay. And there was someone who I did end up seeing. This was like a couple years ago, and it went wrong. Like it started out right, and then it went left, right, wrong. It went all kinds of ways. But it wasn't. It was. It was just the way that it ended up, and I ended up finding out the person like put up on their social media. They're like, "Oh, it's National Boyfriend Day," and they're with their boyfriend. And I was like, and it wasn't me. And I was like, oh, oh,
Oh,
I, was,
oh.
I don't have
Where's
pearls
my
to
pearls so I can touch them?
exactly.
Yes.
Oh. So I texted him. I was like, "Oh, you could have just told me." I mean, actually, it happened all of a sudden. I was like, "Okay, bet." So I saw them a couple of times out at events, and I was like, "Yeah, okay, cool." And I just went away. It just I pushed it out of my head as much as possible, just because I didn't want that feeling.
Okay.
And I was like, "Oh, that kind of sour feeling, kind of almost like a little bit deflated." But then I was like, "Okay, cool." So yeah, that I kind of understand that space, especially of not doing a show with someone you date. I would not.
I like to take my L's in private now. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just don't want to do that.
I don't recommend it. I do not recommend it. Yeah. Because you can
I
always see the shift in the energy when things ain't working out.
mhm.
You can run those episodes back. You're like, I get it.
And it's that particular episode you go, man, it was tight in that room. It was that tension.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't even make for good show. Like it didn't make for good conversation. It was just that wrong kind of energy. Like
Yep.
it's,
My cousin, he was like, "Yo, do I need to come up there?" And I was like, "Nah." I was like, "I'm gonna end the partnership."
yeah,
That's the energy that my cousin was sensing. He's like, "Wait a minute now."
yeah, I couldn't. Yeah,
The dude's cool. The dude's cool now. We just weren't two people who should have dated. That's all.
okay, which is, but that's nothing that I love about your shows, and when you talk about dating and everything like that, is your transparency, but you're always willing to acknowledge if something was right, if something was wrong. You acknowledge when you were wrong, when like there's
I heard it's hard. It's hard.
it's hard. It's very hard to do, but I appreciate that in the conversations, because again, that's another part of that intimacy. You have a very intimate relationship with your listeners, with your viewership, which I think is incredible. With that, how did you decide to go into different avenues like spoken word and doing live shows, which you did recently?
Mm-hmm. So I started out as a spoken word artist. And I started out in 2004. So one of my close friends who has transitioned recently, but she signed me up for my first open mic because I was terrified of the mic. I was terrified of the stage, but she knew that I wrote and she read my work. And one day we're at the open mic, and I think the open mic closed. It was Just Words in Philly called Just Words. And they said the Brown Girl. And I'm just sitting here, like I never named myself the Brown Girl yet. She names me. And she tapped me. She's like, "Oh, girl, that's you." And I was like, "Me for what?" And then she's like, "Yeah, I signed you up for the open mic when I got your drink. Here's your notebook." Yeah.
Ooh.
And so that was in 2004. And from there, like I fell in love with the mic. I fell in love with the stage at that point. And I did spoken word for about 6 or 7 years. 6 or 7 years, but I really stopped after my dad passed. So I couldn't think of anything creative to do anymore. So I let it go right there. I left it there. And then that's when I transitioned to storytelling. And I got into storytelling. I got into work. Just that's when like my career started doing what careers are supposed to do. Pay your bills on a regular basis, but they like to put titles attached to things at that point. Yeah. Uh, so I stopped being as creative, and when I stopped being creative, I started not managing depression and anxiety well after that. So I'm like I stated earlier, I have ADHD, so my ADHD comes with the side of depression and anxiety and object permanent. So I am if I don't see it, it's gone. Like I'm out of sight, out of mind very easily for me. So I started having to deal with those things a lot. And one of the things that my doctor recommended, and this is shout out to Black doctors, Black female doctors specifically. Not there's nothing wrong with Black men doctors, but this Black woman, she said, listen, and she's like, I can treat you and we can get you medicated. She's like, but before we go that route, she's like, let's try other things. And we started exploring the things that I loved, and some of the things that I loved are the things that I gave up, which is the writing, the storytelling, and but the mic is home to me. I love the mic, and that's what another thing with podcasting. But then when it comes to the live shows, like with podcasting, when I started, it was pre-pandemic. When the pandemic hit, one of the things we couldn't do anymore is go into the studio. I miss people in the room with me in the studio. Like I tried doing Zoom, and I didn't feel the energy from the people in the room, because it's different when you have people right there with you. And my show was always really about the art of conversation, and it was kind of hard to have that art of conversation without feeling the person's energy. So if you're going too far, or if you can push further. And so I missed that part of it. So started doing solo shows, which are fine. Solo shows are fine. I love it. Get my voice out, get my opinion out, go to bed. But when I had the opportunity, because I wrote a book and that I've been scared to publish, and I'm working through the things that scare me this year. But I wrote a book and I didn't know how to put it out. So I'm like, you know what? I'm not ready to put the book out, but I wonder if I can do a show telling stories. And so that was my first live show in 2022, called Don't Trust Her, She's Single, where I shared a bunch of short stories. I paired it with my favorite music. And I just created an experience for people that was different than what we normally get. And one, I was surprised people showed up. They actually sold out the venue. I was like, wow, I really have to do this now. And then people had a great time, and I had a great time. Like I felt like I was where I was supposed to be. I got to share the funny sides of dating. You got to share the stories that you're embarrassed about. Like, nobody's happy to hear talk about, or find out that you was crouching behind your ex's car about to key his, not key his, slash his tires. That's not a good feeling to go back there. But then to know that somebody caught you about to do it, and instead of telling you not to do it, they told you, like, if you slice his tires, you're going to hurt yourself when his door is open, and you could slice the car seats instead. And I had a choice at that moment. Am I going to just, be a grown up, or am I going to slice this man's car seats? And I chose to slice the car seats. And I shared that story with people, like with strangers in the room, and they're like, yo, did she do it, or is she making this up? And I'm like, we'll never know. And so
Mm-hmm.
just having the reaction from the crowd, and getting people, like how some people do freestyle rappers. I could freestyle a story. So as I'm telling a story, I like crowd engagement. So I tell the crowd to throw things at me as I'm telling the story, and I'll incorporate it in the story. So I loved all of that. And it's like the art of words. Like, words mean things, and we don't give them the credit that they deserve, and we don't cherish them the way that we should. And I like it. So that's how I got into, from podcasting, the spoken word, the storytelling, and now I'm at a place where I combine all of them. And if you come to one of my live shows, I might start the show off with a story. I might start it with a poem and a story combined, but we're gonna have a good time. We're gonna have a conversation that's based off of whatever I started.
I love that you've taken, and you use the word specifically,
Mm-hmm.
storytelling, and how no matter what you've done, it has been about you telling a story, whether it's been your story, whether it's been a story that you freestyled up on stage. You're still incorporating that, and that's such a beautiful thing to be able to do, that you're so fluid with it, but you've still maintained your core of that while bringing along, new people and people who have been fans for years, bringing them along on this journey with you. I love the idea that the most recent show you had one of my favorite artists on there. Actually, this is one of his bracelets, Sean Allen.
Yay!
Yes, I'm a
Hey,
huge fan of
Sean.
Sean. The hieroglyphics.
Yeah.
Known him for, God, so long, 10 years,
Hmm.
maybe longer than that. When
Okay.
I first started following him and his art and everything, and seeing how you incorporated different people from different areas to have this again one this almost like how they used to have like the campfires and they would tell stories over that, having these 4 different storytellers telling the story and combining different ways. I think that's such an incredible thing, and I think that to me was like you breaking this other level that you had to go through and being everything that you've done and how powerful you've become with each iteration of what you've done. I thought it was great. And I'm seeing this and I'm like, oh, she really bringing together like the Avengers, like X-Men, like she bringing them all together. I thought that was so cool, and I really want to congratulate you on that. And I could definitely see that being something so huge and so amazing that you do. And you'll look back and you'll go, I remember that first time that we did this, and now look at where we're at. I think it's beautiful, and you are dope. You are incredibly dope in everything that you do. It's so awesome, truthfully. Especially, like I said, you are a voice, and we don't have a lot of them. And when you speak, it resonates with people. And the fact that you're, again, giving spaces to Black women to relax their shoulders.
Yeah.
Exhale. Like, no, really exhale. Let all that out. Don't worry about what's in the stove or what's there. Don't worry about that. This is you. Right here. This is you. I think that's beautiful, and it's amazing and incredible. And we owe you so much for that, truthfully. Giving that space for Black women. With you doing so many things, and you even saying that the ADHD and the depression, everything. Something that is very important that we really found out during the pandemic is mental health. We found out a lot about mental health. We found out a lot about ourselves. We found a lot about the people that we share space with. So we're more conscious of it now. Something I always want to find out about creatives and people, especially Black women, is with everything that you have going on, what's a self-care thing that you do for yourself? Something that helps to keep you grounded, that keeps you in that space.
So I have a whole toolkit of self-care things. So anybody who's been through therapy, they know you got to have a toolkit of things because you need different things for whatever scenario that you're going through. But my go-to is I hike. I go on hiking adventures. Me and my dog, we find different places to hike. And if I don't have a lot of time, I stay local in Jersey. And I just hike, and it's no music, no anything, just me and the dog, nothing to distract me. And I get to really take in nature. I love to hike by water because I just feel like, I'm not sure if you're a religious person, but I just feel like when I'm close to the water, God talks to me. It lets me know that I'm okay. It lets me know that, look, you're just a drop of water in this world, and look how beautiful this is. I just find peace there, so I hike. On the flip side, I also twerk. Yeah. It's balanced. So I like if I'm having a rough day where
I don't know why you just going like, you know what, let me just bust this out. I don't know why that's in my head. I'm just like,
and that's how it is. Like the one that sees it the most is my dog. Like she's looking at me every day like this is what I signed up for. But it's one of those things where if I have a rough day and like I have aggression that I need to get out, like first things first, before I start twerking, I have to put Wu-Tang on, Protect Your Neck, just so I can get the world off of me. And then from there, I take it back. I take it back to Luke.
that's
true.
I mean, if you go on twerk to something, you're gonna put Luke on. I mean, that's kind of where that's like the home of it. I mean, cool. That's all right.
Yeah, it ain't good. Like I've seen myself in the mirror doing it, and it's something that I have to reserve for my home, because I'm 46 and I have knees that are 86. So it's a lot of movement, it's a lot going on. But by the time I'm done and I catch those glimpses in the mirror, or the shadow, or realize that sometimes I'm twerking like the Tin Man. Like I just laugh so hard at myself, and sometimes I laugh till I cry. But by the time I'm done, like I forgot everything that I was upset about. So those are my go-tos. Those are the two things that I use. If I need peace, I go hike. If I need to get that aggression out, I dance.
I love that
Yeah.
there's among the multitude of things you have in your toolbox. I love the fact that you have these two things that could be considered on different ends of the spectrum. Where you're hiking, the fact that you said no music too really means something to me, because there are sounds in nature that you
Mhm.
hear, whether it's a bird chirping, whether it's maybe the rustling of the leaves, the grass, or like you're saying, the water, a babbling
Mhm.
brook. It all adds to it. It feels something there. But you could also say, on the other end of the spectrum, when you're twerking, that's your God telling you, look,
Come
do
on.
what you got to do. Get it out. Get it out.
Oh,
Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead. I'll take care of the knees. Don't worry. Just keep going. I got you. I ain't gonna let you fall. Go ahead. I got you. But I love the
well,
fact
he
that
let me fall.
for real, like, because at one time, like when you heard twerking and everything like that, it was like, oh, I'm not gonna twerk. It's ratchet, whatever, like this, whatever. But it's become this thing where black women have owned it and said
Hmm.
that doesn't mean this or that or whatever. And even if it does mean this or that or whatever, it makes me feel good.
Yes.
And it's not for, like, there may be times when it is for someone that you're doing
Yeah.
it for, but it's also for you. This is my way. Some people box. Some people,
Mm.
like, as far as like exercising, getting something out. Some people box, kickbox. Some people ride bikes. Some people lift weights. Some people twerk.
Yeah.
Eh,
It gets your heart rate up.
I
I'll tell
mean,
you that.
it's whatever it is, and whether you like what you're seeing at the point, whatever you don't like what you see at your point, sometimes you got to get out. Have you seen people lift weights? It's not sexy at times. It
It's
doesn't look
not.
good. They look
It's not.
ridiculous at times. But
Yeah.
you get it out. Sometimes that face that you make, or whatever, or however it doesn't, like, you don't like the way it looks. That's you getting all that out. That's it. You got to get that out to look good,
Yeah.
and then afterwards you go, okay, cool. You go get your water. You finish. Whatever it was that you were doing. Sometimes you just got to stop and
Mhm.
just go, no.
Yeah.
I totally
Yeah.
appreciate it. I it caught me off guard. I wasn't expecting that. I was like, all right,
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting it, but I appreciate it. Because sometimes
Yeah.
you
You
gotta
got
do it.
you gotta address every side of you. So I like the term you use, ratchet and everything. We as black women, we don't want to ever be referred to as ratchet. But then I'm saying to myself, like, well, why not? Because sometimes I am a little ratchet. That's a side of me. That's a part of me. Why can't I own that? Like, don't shame me, Argentina. Mm-mm. Like I got a little sophisticated ratchet to me. I got old school ratchet to me. Like I'll come from a long line of ratchet sometimes. So you got to honor all those things.
We always want to try and think, oh, well, we're above that, and I'm like, yeah. Let me tell you something real quick. If there were as many cameras as there are now, when I was a teenager, let me tell you something. No, it would not. No, it wouldn't be a good look for me on
Yeah,
for multiple reasons. Multiple reasons it would not.
absolutely
And
not.
I've done things that someone might be considered hood or what have you. But some people wouldn't. If I was to tell somebody, oh, well, I used to do this, and like, oh, for real? I'm like, yeah. But you think I'm not, because you might see the comic books, or you might see, like the T-shirts, or you might hear like my voice and hear that it's a certain cadence, or because of words I use. But no, there were times when I did things, and I look back and I go, I'm so lucky. I am
Yeah.
so lucky.
Yeah. Like I used to go to the Greek. The Greek. Yeah. And Asbury. Like I'm just thankful and grateful that my parents, I was too young, and my parents would not let me go with my cousins to the Freaknik because I wanted to go because I thought it was the no. Clearly they had cameras out there because it's a whole documentary now. I'm thankful that my
Mm-hmm.
parents operated their parental right to say no, sit down.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yeah, because the if cameras caught some of the stuff that we did, and I'm not gonna share some of the things that we did because there's no documented proof. So therefore, yeah. Mhm.
Allegedly,
Uh, I'm not
allegedly.
even saying allegedly. I'm just like,
Because
hmm.
I have it playing in my head sometimes. I'm like, man, I don't believe I. And And it's at the worst times. I'll be at work doing something. I'll be like, yeah, let me. And I'm like, ooh,
Flashbacks.
whew, man, I'm lucky. And
Yeah.
I dive deeper into whatever I'm doing to try and get that memory. I'm like, I don't want to think about that right now.
Mm-hmm.
So I totally understand. But I love that balance, and people are starting to realize that now. Like when when things like that happen, you need to get it out, however it is. Like I like going on walks. I like going on walks. I also like walking through New York randomly. I love being, like you said, a drop of water in the ocean. I
Mm-hmm.
like just blending in and no one seeing me. And I like having my earbuds in, still having the sound low enough where I can tell if something's about to happen.
Yeah.
Because it's New York,
Safety.
but just going through, and I love that. But on the flip side, I actually like to sing to myself. I sing in the shower. I haven't
Oh,
sung to anyone in a couple years. I sang like "Happy Birthday" to my cousin on
okay.
Instagram, like randomly, but it's something that I like, and it helps me to feel better. And I might just say one line over again of the song if I can't remember it all. But we all have the balance of those things. So saying that there are different self care things you can do for whatever is ailing you at that time is so
Mm-hmm.
very important, because twerking might not work if if you just need quiet,
Yeah.
because twerking and quiet is don't I mean you could do it, but why would you twerk in silence? I don't
Yeah. It's weird.
I mean that might be interesting, but I think it's also going to be a little odd. That's like pouring milk in the bowl and then cereal. I don't feel like
Yeah.
that's
Yeah, I don't recommend that one. Can I and one of the things that I admire about you is the fact that you're talking about self-care from a black man point of view, where, as much as I say that we as black women never had the luxury, you as a black man never had the luxury either to explore your emotions and your mental health. Like, for the most part, I think about my great grandfathers and my grandfathers, how they never they never stop to take care of themselves and their mental health. So the fact that you're talking about your self-care and how you decompress and what does it for you, that's top tier. So thank you for that.
thank you. It took me years. I all through high school I dealt with a lot of depression and anxiety and didn't know what it was. I
Mm-hmm.
would at times I would be on the floor curled up in a ball crying, and I didn't
Mm-hmm.
know why. I didn't know why. I thought there was
Right.
something wrong with me. I didn't. Well, I mean, like as far as like there, like something being really wrong with me, and I didn't
Mm-hmm.
know. But I'd cry, and I'd cry quietly because I didn't want
Mm-hmm.
my mother or my father to hear. I'd wipe my tears. I'd go in the bathroom, clean myself up, go lay down, and try and go to bed.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't until I was having a panic attack when I didn't know it was a panic attack, and I was
Oh.
having anxiety, and I was with someone at the time, and they were like, "What's wrong?" I was like, "I can't breathe. I can't breathe.
Mm-hmm.
I can't breathe. I don't know what's wrong. I just have all these thoughts in my head." And she was like, "Oh, oh, that's a panic attack." And I literally said, "What?" And she said, "That's a panic." And I said, "That's a white people mess. I
Yep.
don't know what it is." And that was the thought process, because we never talked about it in our community. So when we
Mm-hmm.
started talking about it more and more, it became easier. So I was very transparent about when I'm going through something, when something is hitting, when I'm not feeling it. I've really begun to embrace that transparency. Like even the fact of having a stammer and a stutter,
Mm-hmm.
like even that like is part of it. So it's very difficult to do, but that's why I asked about the self care, and I have men that come on, and I explicitly want to know about their, so what is it that you do, because I want them to even recognize it.
Yeah. It's
And
it's
it's
so necessary.
it is, and to see them doing it and to actually saying it. And one man actually was saying, he was talking about something, and he said the word flaccid.
Mhm.
Was it flaccid? Was it? No. He said infinite. Excuse me, infinite.
Okay.
And he wasn't speaking about sexuality. He was speaking about how he felt about a situation and made him feel infinite. And this was George Floyd.
Okay.
When he said it, and I said, I hear what you're saying, but I want to first off, I want to say thank you for using the word infinite
Mhm.
and having that grace, having that strength to say it as a black man, and to not cower and
Mhm.
to not feel shamed by saying it, even though it wasn't in a sexually in a sexual way, you
Right.
saved me. Because even though I know what you meant, I'm not gonna lie, I tightened up a little bit. I did.
Right.
Just
Right.
you know what I'm saying? Like it's just that's just that jerk
It's what we've
reaction.
been conditioned.
Exactly. So for him to say it, I was like, thank you for using that particular word.
Hmm.
And I appreciate it. And I appreciate him sharing his feelings about how he felt with George Floyd. And all. So I was very much appreciative of it. And thank you very much for acknowledging that. I truly appreciate that. I've learned a lot about my self care and such like that by listening and speaking to Black women on every level, whether it was my mother, whether it's a friend, whether it's something that is someone who I'm involved with.
Hmm.
Different things is very important. Yeah, so I'm very much either taking a walk, singing, lighting incense, cooking,
Oh
trying
yeah, yeah.
to make the perfect pancake, like whatever it is, reading account, whatever it is. So thank you very much for sharing that. I truly appreciate that. And I love the fact that you take hikes. I absolutely love that. I think that's just so incredible. Not that I don't enjoy the twerking part of you and that you have to have that balance, but hearing the water makes me like
Hmm.
feel very relaxed. Just even thinking about it feels beautiful.
Yeah.
So this is usually the part where I would ask someone about their favorite restaurant and their favorite dish there. I mean, it's
Hmm.
in the title, Hungry Bleak, obviously. You are the first person who has said, I don't like restaurants. I don't want to go to a restaurant.
Right.
I like when someone will cook for me.
Hmm.
But that's still beautiful because that's still
Hmm.
someone giving of themselves to you, nourishing you, making sure that
Yeah.
you're good.
It's love.
Exactly.
Hmm.
So, what was your favorite dish that someone cooked for you?
My favorite dish that someone cooked for me was seafood stew, and it was my sister. So I'm not that well. I can cook. Let me run it back. I can cook. I can cook well. However, out of my siblings, me is me. I'm the oldest twin, but my sister was the youngest twin. She's 8 minutes younger than me, and then my brother was the baby boy, and he's 6 years younger. I'm third in cooks in the house. I'm third. They are top tier.
Mm,
I'm third in cooks, but I'm number one on the grill. So claim the fame there.
okay.
Yeah. So
Okay.
Angie will always make me like she will always like you mentioned the cooking network. She will always try whatever recipes that they found. And during the pandemic, when the world shut down, and it was just me and her in the house. Like I got to spend the last 2 years of my sister with just me and her. And she made me seafood stew. It was scallops, it was crab in there, it was shrimp in there, and it was like vegetables. It was so good that I literally ate it for 3 days in a row, for like dinner and lunch 3 days in a row. And then she would make like she would take the naan bread and she would season it up and she would cook it up in different flavors every time. She would make homemade naan. um and I just like she was the cook, and that's how, like, even when we argued, she would like her we never apologized, we never said the words I'm sorry. We would She would cook for me when she was wrong, and if I was wrong, I would give her lotions or creams because that was her thing. So yeah, I miss that, and I've tried to cook it myself, and I can't get the recipe, and I've read her recipe, I tried her recipe, but she's always sprinkled a little bit of extra love in there. So that's my favorite meal. And I'm getting emotional because you know that I lost my sister. So she cooked for me, and that's how anyone can show me love, if you cook for me. So I cherish that more than anything.
Thank you for sharing that. I truly appreciate that because I know that the minute you said your sister's name, I was like, oh, like that. I know that's a part of your heart right there. That's love.
Hmm. Yep.
You can't get it right because she doesn't want you to win.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
they
Exactly.
always have a little trick that they play after they leave. There's always something that they do that just go, can't let you take that. But you have
Hmm.
your season because grilling season is coming,
Yeah. Yeah.
and you will
Yeah.
shine.
Yeah. I have a new smoker and everything. So yeah, I'm ready.
Okay. I love that you mentioned sprinkling of love, because you can definitely tell somebody can make you a peanut butter sandwich, and it can be regular, but if
Hmm.
that person loves you, truly loves you, and a part of their heart is yours and a part of your heart is theirs,
Yeah.
regardless of what you're, whether it's familial or whether it's like a romantic relationship, whether it's best friends, whatever, you'll feel it
Mm-hmm.
because that food is sprinkled with love
Yeah.
and intention,
Yeah.
um, and that feeling. So that means everything. Thank you. I truly, that's like I said, I've had restaurants all over. I have a bucket list of restaurants I've gotten from people, but the answer that you just gave was the absolute best. Thank you for sharing that. Truthfully, I really appreciate that.
Yeah. I came from, my parents were young when they got married. They were in their early 20s. So they couldn't afford much.
Mm-hmm.
So they couldn't afford date nights and concerts. They had 3 kids early. So the thing that they did, they cooked with each other. So growing up, I just saw two people who came from two different worlds cooking with each other. They would dance in the kitchen, listening to Luther. Sometimes they would send us to bed early, bring the stereo outside. My dad would get on the grill and cook steaks. My mom would dress up in a dress and they would have dinner on the back patio and they would dance to Luther all night. So like I got to see love through food. So I think it's very special when people cook for you or when you cook with somebody else. So restaurants can't get, they can give you nourishment, they can give you something spicy, they can give you something good. Like I've enjoyed restaurants, but when you have somebody cook for you or when you share that experience of cooking to somebody else, nothing can top that. Even if you burn it, it's still an experience. It's still a story. You still gonna eat it.
Yeah, you will still sit there. I still remember making a sandwich for a girlfriend in high school, and I didn't put enough mayo on it. And the next day, one of her best friends was calling me Miracle Whip for like the next 2 years. I was so, and I was like, but did you tell her? And she was like, yeah. And I was like, you could have just told me. I would have put a little extra mayo on set. Like it wasn't that big a deal. Like why? And I literally, she would call me Miracle Whip for until we graduated.
Oh
Even after
god,
me and the girl broke up, she was still calling me Miracle. I was like,
you never forgot that.
no, no. I had the best of intentions. So now because of that, it made me go, okay, yeah, I ain't never gonna have a damn nickname like that because my sandwich was dry. I will be
Right.
dead. You are not going to my head. No, it's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. But it's that love. Yeah, the cook. I've never been with someone who has really cooked. I've always been the cook between me and any partners. Uh,
Okay.
Either they didn't know how to cook, or I tried something of theirs, and I was like, "Yeah,
Mm,
I,
I
I
would like
got
to
you.
live.
It's cool. Sorry. That's you gave it your all.
Mm, mm,
Your all was only so far, but I appreciate what you tried to do. You did try. I appreciate that. I
yeah.
like that better than saying no. So I've always been that person. But the yeah, to have that idea of cooking with someone,
Mm,
you're not doing anything, but it could be whatever, and you're just
mm-hmm.
in the kitchen, you're having a good time, dancing around, you stirring the pot, you get a little kiss here, you go do this, what
Yeah.
have you. Those moments like that, you won't find in restaurants. You are right. Now I do love a good restaurant, but you're not going
Hmm.
to find that home
Yeah.
feeling. That love is it's real. It's
Hmm.
real. So on that note, um, this has been I'm gonna say this has been a very savory episode. Um, I'm gonna be. I might just end up calling this like the soul food episode because this has been nourished. This has
I
been
like
hearty.
that.
This is stuck to my ribs. Like
Oh.
like this type of episode stuck to my. But this is why I love these conversations um, and interviews because they can start out as one thing and it ends up becoming something so different, but still just as enriching. Finding out so much, and it's a real conversation. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? And that's the beauty of it. Um, so thank you so very much for giving me some of your time. I truly appreciate it.
Oh.
You are, like I said, one of those people who is a voice, and your voice has just gotten stronger and bigger and louder, and it will just spread and expand so much. I think that's incredible, and it's incredible to see you flourish and to see you expand and go into those areas where you're scared, but it's
Mm.
that good scared. That good scared is always important. And seeing you pop up on Beyonce's internet continuously and me in the back of my head while I'm trying to grab the cereal, hearing the Brown Girl Experience. I'm just like,
I'm gonna say it for you one more time. I'm gonna say it. Watch tomorrow.
I'm gonna say, because I hear it and I'm like, that was the great. That's probably one of the greatest promotional things ever that you may not have even realized was happening. I hear that more than I'll hear like the Oscar Mayer jingle, whatever. That and the ice cream truck are in it.
Mr. Softy ice cream truck, or I'm trying to see where I rank.
I'm talking like I want to say Mr. Softy and the Icy when you were in like New York, like those.
I'm up there.
Because it's right in the back of my head. Because I randomly, I'm like I'll be doing something whatever, and I'll just say Brown Girl Experience, and I'm like, it's right,
Mama,
it's in
I
there.
made it.
It's in there. So it's an earworm, but it's such a nice one because I see like even like the little like the emoji and everything, or like moving around. I'm like, okay, yeah, all right, you did that, you did. So, do you have any final words for the people, Erica?
The only words I have for the people, let me see. So, oh, this is a good one. So here's the thing, y'all. The reason why I do cocktails and conversation is because I do believe that the battle of sexes is really pushing us apart completely. My brown girl experience includes black men. Like, I create spaces for black women. However, our stories include black men. We need y'all. We appreciate y'all. So if you can do anything for me, anything, one conversation, one experience at a time. Let's start to listen to each other, not to respond to each other, but really listen to each other. Because, systemic racism got had they boot on our necks forever. And that's the only thing that's really keeping us apart. Because if you stop, sit down quietly and listen to what each other is saying, we both want the same thing. That's all. So if anybody, if you want to do anything for me, just sit and listen to your counterpart and understand where they're coming from. That's all. Extend some grace to everybody. That's my gem. That's what I have to give.
Yes, it is about communication and just because you might be saying one thing in one way and the other person saying the other thing, but you're actually saying the same thing. Saying the same thing. There might be like vastly different words, but you're saying the same thing and you both want it. But because a lot of times we don't want to listen, and because social media especially will like ramp it up even more. Now,
Mm-hmm.
now, yes, there are some men out here that ain't it. Yes.
Yeah.
And there are
The
women out
vast
here.
minority, the minority of y'all is falls in that category.
Yeah,
Like less than
and
5%.
yeah, and there are women out here that ain't it. But that's also if that's not what you want, then don't go down that route. It's really easy. It's really easy to to not date what you don't want. It's very easy.
Come on now. Bring
Don't
us to
just date someone
church.
that you love. Date someone that you like.
Come,
A lot of
that's the
us
gem right there.
a lot of us aren't dating people that we like.
Yes. And
We
it
look at
shows.
what yeah, we and you sitting there like, why y'all grumpy? Why is your face tight?
Yes.
And it's no like, I love her. Yeah, and that's great. That cool, but do you like her?
Mm-hmm.
People are always quick to tell you what they don't like. They're very quick. But if you ask somebody, oh well, what are you looking for in somebody to date? They're like, they don't know. But when you go, oh well, what don't you like? And they'll give
Mm.
you a list quick as anything. They've got that one in the chamber.
I'm like, oh,
So you
clearly
date
that's
what
what
you
you're going to
like.
track.
Exactly. Now every so often we do go after red flags. Look, I've done it myself. Like
I
six
love
flags.
good red flag.
That don't make no sense, but I gotta try that. I gotta see what's going on over there. And I walk off and I go, well, learn that lesson. What
Yeah.
happened? But yeah, it definitely it's that communication is very important. So yes, the brown girl is completely right. Just sit, listen, have that conversation, and like you said, listen to communicate, not to reply. Like actually take in what that person is saying. That nuance, what have you. Listen to the tone of their voice, like actually listen to everything that's not
Mhm.
just the words, but their intentions, the body language, even like the emotion, the nuance in their voice. Listen to all of that. That's so very important. I couldn't figure out a better way to actually end. So I'm gonna be honest with you. That was the best. That's probably the best. Yeah, that's it, folks.
Aw.
Have a very good day. Enjoy the rest of it. Do the best you can with what you got, because in the end, that's all that you get. And if you can, please, I'm going to have the links in the episode description to check out everything Brown Girl Experience, Cocktails and Conversations, and look, one of the dopest people out there, truthfully. All right. You have been so amazing. I'm so proud of everything that you've done, and everything that you will do is going to be incredible. You are a
Thank you.
voice. Thank you for being here with all of us, truthfully.
Thank you
Mhm.
for having me.
You're welcome. Thank you. Y'all have a very good one. Enjoy the rest of it. Drink water. It's very important. And spring is coming up. So start putting on lotion a lot now, because we don't want to see y'all out there ashy and chafing. Please. The knees, the heels. No biscuits. No
Please.
biscuits. No biscuits.
Please and thank yous.
Yes. Body butter, whatever you need. Exfoliate. Start now. Bye, y'all.